This week, we have an earnest effort. You're still trying.
But you laughed, so I win.
I suppose.
Earnest effort. Go on.
It's an earnest effort, but for a couple of dozen things, could have worked out really well.
Yeah.
We go into that in great detail. There's no need to even try to preface it. I mean, the performances were fine, and there's a lot of stuff about it that was fine. Unfortunately, the stuff that really matters, we had a real hard time with.
Well, I do want to make it clear that this is not the worst movie we've ever seen.
No, it is not.
We are pretty harsh on it in this episode.
Yes.
But overall, it's worth a watch, I think.
Well, it is. It is. And, it's got a big name.
One big name.
Well, it's a big name for us.
Yeah.
We like this name.
We do like this name.
A lot. Well, I don't know. I think maybe we should let this whole experience speak for itself.
Okay.
All right, listeners, buckle up, strap yourselves in, get comfortable, because it's a coming.
Throw your hands up.
Yep. The ride is on.
Woo!
Let's go.
Hey there, B-Siders. Welcome to another episode of Bravo for the B-Side. This is Danny.
And this is Jim.
And you know what, Jim?
Tell me what, Danny?
We had a good run last week, didn't we?
We did.
One one good week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
I threw you, didn't I?
Well, no. It was an interesting view.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mixed feelings on this.
I know I'm torn. I'm very torn about this movie because a part of me wants to give it its due, which it deserves, right?
Right.
And then the other part of me is like, this was such a slog.
Well, it was. That's going to be like the primary lesson.
Yeah.
On this. So we'll save that until the end. I mean, yeah. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It is a tough one. I think it has some very valid lessons coming up that, for better or for worse, are important.
Yeah.
And they're not all negative, but yeah, this was one of those that really, it's tough, just tough in so many different ways.
Yeah. We have some minor bits of news this week.
Do tell.
Well, tomorrow we're going to be playtesting your module that you wrote for D&D.
Yes, we are.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Sound like you said Don Johnson.
Don Johnson.
Don Johnson and Dragons.
Yeah.
I would sit down with some popcorn and a
that.
soda and I would watch that movie.
Yeah. I like it.
I would play it too.
Yeah.
A game based on the movie.
Okay, a game based on Don Johnson.
And the dragon.
And a dragon or multiple dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is at that phase. We're going to do a play test. Someone else is going to be play testing it later in the week. And then since we're both involved with it, there's going to be a blind play test.
Yes.
Where we're going to give it to 3 well-versed dungeon masters to let them run it. so we can get some feedback on the flow, because it's hard to be super objective when you've made it.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I think a good playtest is to give it to someone who will be DMing it.
Yeah, like they picked it up off the shelf for the first time, cracking it open. I can't pretend I don't understand what's written and all the things involved with it. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun.
Yes.
And after a little while, there'll be some promotions on here on what product this is with and where you can get it.
I'm ready to go with my 100% serious character.
Yeah. You want to say what it is?
No.
I'm gonna.
Okay.
So you're going to be playtesting with your rogue. Just a rogue. I mean, first level, they don't have anything, but eventually going to be a spy.
Inquisitive.
Yes. Tabaxi, known as Biscuit Wafer.
Biscuit Wafer.
Yes. Named after our daughter's favorite and still, has been and still is her favorite stuffed animal.
Yeah.
It's a cat. And we named it Biscuit. Or she named it Biscuit, and then after a while, we came up with Biscuit Wafer.
Well, yeah, later
give him a last name.
Yeah, she gave him a surname.
And you turned him into a Russian spy.
Yes, I did. Well, she used to make me voice him all the time, so I was like, I've already got this voice. This is a fun character.
Yeah.
A rogue would be a good addition to a party for this campaign. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Biscuit Wafer comes to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Well, we were at one time going to have her, she wanted to do, like everything, she wants to do something and then it never happens with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But one of her things was she wanted to make shorts of Biscuit, Biscuit Wafer, KGB cat. And you were going to do the voiceover for him after she filmed the little things. But
she wrote a screenplay for Biscuit.
I know, but
Biscuit.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that was a tough road to hoe, that one.
It was Biscuit in spy school. It was great.
Yeah.
Great
but
stuff.
Trying to get her it took me weeks of hovering and hounding for her to get her 2.5 pages.
Well, I assisted in the right.
Well, yeah, finally.
Anything else?
No, that's really just about it.
Yeah.
Still, BF McGillicuddy, still in the swing of things.
Yeah.
And the upcoming podcast.
Well, y'all watch the show.
It's dangling.
Yeah.
But we'll see
as time allots.
Well, the girl has to do some work. She wants to do it, but she actually has to do the work and is like really pushing the envelope on, if I put it off long enough, Dad will do it.
Yeah.
Dad's not going to do it. Explained a little bit earlier. Way too much stuff to do. Doing other people's work is not part of my list.
Right.
Yeah. But, yeah, hopefully, because, that could be fun.
I think so, too. All right. Well, I think we should talk about this movie, but before you tell us about it, I do want to say.
Okay.
This movie captured our attention for 2 reasons.
Sure.
In the trailer.
Yes.
The first reason is named Billy Zane.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
What can I say? Billy Zane is another one.
I love Billy Zane.
Yeah, for various reasons. If the name is in the credits, we're hitting play.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Love him. Love him. The other reason was that the trailer promised us a squadron, a full-on squadron of DeLoreans racing across the desert.
Yes.
Which looked awesome.
Bit of a spoiler with that, but let's just say before we begin, this is the only film that I know of that has a whole fleet of DeLoreans, a squadron of them. And it was just kind of awesome.
It was super cool.
If you're going to have a post-apocalyptic world with a bunch of like weird shit going on, and you need some transportation, folks, put DeLoreans in your movie.
Yeah, DeLoreans are the way to go. I mean, I would have loved to see some DeLoreans in Mad Max.
Yeah, I mean, we can't let, Back to the Future be the sole DeLorean film. It's been far too long. And
I mean, it is the iconic DeLorean.
Yeah. And so we're looking at it and you can already guess. Billy Zane. In a fleet of DeLoreans. Holy shit.
And we're like, hell yeah.
That's like a sandwich made in heaven.
Uh-huh.
And here we are. All right.
And Jake Ryan. I mean, I like Jake Ryan.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And numerous other people who didn't make the short list on the billing. But yeah, let's get into this bad boy.
Okay. Right. Tell us.
So this week it is Blue World Order. And it was done in 2017, directed by Shea Baker and Dallas Bland, written by Shea Baker and Dallas Bland, and Sarah Mason, starring Billy Zane, Bruce Spence. There's another one.
Yeah.
And Jake Ryan. Did not have a rating. Didn't get a budget, but we do have the log line.
Yep, we sure do.
I'm not going to read the parentheticals here.
That's fine.
Because it just seems
I just copied it from IMDb, the log line.
I see that. Yeah. So here we go, folks. The film is set in a post-apocalyptic world in which civilization has crumbled.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, a massive electromagnetic pulse has killed all children on the planet with the exception of Molly, the daughter of Jake Slater.
I feel like...
So, can we just address this for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's be fair.
Uh-huh.
What ends up on IMDb is probably as far from what the PR team and everyone actually involved with the film. I have come to assume what we find on IMDb and on the lines on Tubi and all these have nothing to fucking do with what these guys had for the initial release, simply because I am finding it very difficult to believe that so many filmmakers are so bad about talking about their own work.
Well, what's wild to me is that I know independent filmmakers who do put their own, like they put in the information for their own films on IMDb. And I mean, I don't know what was the case here. This movie did have like a bit of a budget, right?
Well, IMDb is kind of like Wikipedia.
Right.
I mean, you can only go 80% is like the most you can trust it, right? When it comes to all like the trivia and the information and stuff. I mean, this is like a scratch the surface kind of thing.
Right.
But it's really just, it doesn't even actually address the plot.
No, it's just like,
so it's
this is the world we're in. Now watch the movie.
Yeah. So maybe someone thought, hey, this will, stoke enough interest. Someone reads it and they're like, well, okay, why did Molly die? What's different about her? What else is going on? Maybe I'll just jump right in. Or, and I think this is probably it, they just half-assed this, whoever did it. Just didn't fucking care. Threw some words out, practice with their little app, AI. I'm going to make a sentence kind of program. And they're like, no matter what comes out, who gives a shit? We just need to put words in the space because people are going to see one thing and watch this movie. Billy Zane.
Yeah.
So this could actually be in chimpanzee.
Yeah, that's
and they're
true.
like, people will be like, oh, well, interesting. It's Billy Zane. Let's go.
It's got Billy Zane in it.
Yep. All right. So, I'm going to expand on this.
Okay.
Just a little bit. So, yes, it's true. Molly, Jake Slater's daughter, didn't die. But what this is about is a new world order after this apocalyptic event.
Right.
Right. And, Jake Slater is the reluctant hero.
Right.
In this. I mean, I'm not going to rewrite this, for anybody. I'm just, just to set it up, folks, as we get going into it. It's one of those, trying to do one thing and ends up doing 1,000 other things.
The other thing is, though, when we watch this movie, and we'll go through this in the movie, we don't actually know in the movie, without having read this logline, that all the children are dead except for Molly. Because nowhere does it indicate that is the case until someone's like, she's the only child left. And you're like, oh?
That point comes up at the 3/4 mark.
Yeah.
3/4 of the way through the movie, we get that bit of information.
Right.
But up until then, no.
Yeah.
We are not privy to that.
It's wild. Okay. Should we talk about this movie?
Let's talk about this movie. Bring us in.
Okay. So we start out with like a video, like a test video of some woman performing a test on a man, and then we're in like the movie. And this guy's like very scarred up. Right?
Yeah. He's 1,000 miles of rough road.
He looks pretty
on a
rad.
hulking body.
Almost like Frankenstein's monster.
You know who he reminded me of?
Who?
From C.
Oh, sure. I feel you.
The other Voss brother.
Yeah. Ido Voss from C.
Yeah.
Great series. So, scarred up guy, she tells him to cut a pepper, and he cuts it, and then like a cheese, and he cuts it, and then someone brings out a puppy, a real cute puppy.
Well, back up, because you make it sound like he's doing the Wolfgang Puck online class. By cut it, he's slamming like this cleaver down.
Yeah.
Like hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, pick up the cleaver, chop the object. And
yeah.
So she does this a couple of times. And then someone brings out a really cute puppy, and she looks away, the woman, because she apparently doesn't want to see this happen.
Right.
And she looks back, and the guy has not chopped the puppy.
He's just like stopped and frozen.
Right.
Yeah.
And his eyes are weird. They're like bluish, and there's some weird stuff going on in them.
They look like anyone who has seen any of the Mission Impossible films with Tom Cruise, the weird contacts that they put in, they've in the later version, later like installments,
digital eyes.
Yeah. Instead of in the beginning, we would see through them, but then, they got more money for more effects, and you could actually see all the rings and the stuff,
right.
From the outside. So that's what, which was impressive. I like that kind of stuff.
I do. I think that kind of stuff does look visually cool. You can't see stuff that's on your irises, though. That's not how eyes work.
I can see it if it's happening.
Anyway.
In your eyes.
Okay.
I mean, I can see it happening
from
to you.
Like.
Yeah, through your point of view.
Yeah.
No, well, that's why they have the contacts for that. But yeah, that's a good point. There's they didn't put anything in his eyes. These are actually his eyes are doing this thing. Yeah.
So we get some expositional backstory about like a mass attack on bio power plants. And then we're in this post-apocalyptic world with some bacteria that change things. It actually takes a really long time to go through all of this, and I didn't want to write down everything that they said because I was like, I don't think any of this matters, really.
It's the world building.
Well, it takes like 7 full minutes.
Well, it's important, but I will say, in agreement with you, not all of it is important.
Yeah.
It could have been done. Well, I did it in 1.5 paragraphs, and not even paragraphs, in 5 sentences.
2 sentences. So essentially something happened. There was an attack on biopower plants, and then there was some bacteria that like changed people.
Right. And the whole northern hemisphere is apparently gone.
Right.
So we're in the southern hemisphere.
Of the Earth.
Of what's left of, Earth.
Okay. And then we see a person in a mask, like a respiratory kind of mask.
Chemical warfare mask.
Yeah, a gas mask. Parkouring through some woods. Chasing a bee, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, at first I thought he was running from.
Right.
And then you get the sense he's running after.
Right, he's chasing this bee.
Yeah.
Until he finds the hive, and I'm like, oh, cool. Some sweet honey in a post-apocalyptic world. So he is about to cut down the hive, and something shakes the ground and ultimately knocks him out of the tree, and the hive falls down. And then there are gunshots or noises off screen.
Nope, they're gunshots.
Okay. And then he runs off, and he ends up falling down like a really steep incline. Kind of like a little cliff a mini cliff.
Right.
And then we see what looks like a small community in the woods, and there are some armed guards with these community members. They're just like gathering stuff, getting water, washing stuff.
Right.
And we see across the river from them, the masked guy dangling from the cliff. And we hear some growling, some weird creature growling.
Yeah, it's not grisly.
Right.
This is, you get the sense, ooh, something new.
Right.
Is angry.
Yeah. And then he falls into the water, and the guards across the river see the creature on top of the cliff and start shooting at it. But we don't get a real clear picture of what this thing looks like.
No. It's very fast, very far in the distance.
Yeah.
And
very lean.
And then in like bushes, so partially obscured. Mm-hmm. So actually did a really good job of showing us there is in fact something here.
Right.
But not nearly enough.
Yeah, but we don't get any of the details on
right.
it.
And that works for later on.
Right. So the masked guy hobbles back to a small trailer house kind of deal. And he is talking about the bacteria. When he gets in the house, he like takes off his mask and he's just like kind of talking to himself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And we found out that he's taking care of a little girl who does not look well.
Right.
And we see a bit of a flashback where it's him and a character played by Billy Zane. And Billy Zane's character is training him to fight. They're doing a taekwondo.
Yes.
And in the flashback, we kind of connect that the little girl that this guy is now taking care of, who's like 8, 9-ish, maybe 7, 8.
I put between 8 and 10.
Okay. How is that different than 8, 9-ish?
Well, you were 8, 9-ish, 7. You're kind of all over. I'm just saying she's between 8 and 10.
Okay.
Somewhere in there.
But in the flashback, she's a little baby.
Yeah.
And her mom hasn't been around for a while. And they have a little conversation, our dude, our main guy, and Billy Zane, about how our main guy apparently overcame some disease that he had. That was like a terminal kind of thing.
Right.
But he's clear of it now, and he's all good. And then he wakes up, and the growling sound is back from before. And there are gunshots and voices outside.
Yeah. So we see that they're actually in a basement.
Mm-hmm.
Like a dug basement. Because at first it is it's like a little caravan, one of those little teardrop caravans.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it, and I was trying to put this together. Because I know
the outside didn't match the inside.
Well, like an indie film, right? They'll get some like stock footage of the Taj Mahal, right? Because that's, where it is. And then they'll just like find wherever they can to do the interior shots. And for a quick second, I was thinking, so you're in a caravan. I get they're dinky and they'd be hard to work in, but no caravan looks like a basement.
Yeah.
Like a dug basement,
right.
Old fashioned. Anyway.
Not important.
Well, kind of, because they're above, on the floor above him, right? And so then there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's voices, there's the gunshot, there's 2 guys carrying something. Dad is following them.
Right.
Right? Leaving the daughter.
Yeah.
Right? And then they get to some encampment. There's this massive antenna tower structure, huge. I mean, it looked like, you look like you were looking at Seattle, the Needle.
Yeah, it does. Right? It looks very similar to the Needle.
Only hulked up.
Sure.
It's got a couple of smaller platforms and a bunch of antennas and, sci-fi looking stuff on it. So that's impressive. But it's quite a distance away from this little encampment, but you can see it's part of it.
Right.
Right. As he's watching all this stuff going on through his binoculars, this woman turns around and kind of stares at him. And then he notices they have a hospital
Right, they have a doctor.
Yep. So, a little bit of winds of change, and then we see him carrying his daughter to the front gate. A doctor comes in, takes Dad, who's Jake, and his daughter inside the encampment into this tent. And we learned that the antenna tower released an EMP a while back. And the EMP delivered software directly into the brain of the survivors,
right.
brains of the survivors. And then the daughter is set up in a bed.
And the EMP cured the bacteria.
Right. So we did get, while Jake was talking to his daughter, who's, unconscious, he's just kind of talking to talk. We get a little bit of exposition on how the bacteria hadn't come this far yet, because that's with the bees.
Right.
It's so the bacteria hasn't gotten this far. And he's all coughing. And he's not super well. Obviously not unconscious and doesn't look like he's going to fall over, but there's still something wrong with him.
Sure.
So anyway, while they're in the tent, kind of saw this coming. Because this is a staple in every one of these kinds of things. Someone shows up, shoots him with a needle, saying it's, to help with whatever. And then he's unconscious. We get a flashback, and it shows him and his daughter as she's older.
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe a year ago, because it looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So maybe a year before where we are now. They're surviving in the streets. They try to break into somewhere. There's this weird street fight thing going on.
Yeah.
Near where they want to break in.
Some biker looking dudes.
Yeah. They distract him, Streets of Fire type thing. He takes out 7 of the guys. They end up getting in, and it's this giant warehouse with food stuff.
Yeah.
Score. And then a baddie gets in and goes after the daughter. He jumps from she jumps from a catwalk getting away from him, and some strange light catches her in midair.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jake wakes up.
Right. It's this big, weird electric-y thing.
Yeah. Anyway, Jake wakes up strapped to a chair. Monitors are attached to him. Some woman is trying to file through the chains on his feet. She's just
like a little nail file.
Yeah, she's crazy. You can tell. She's busted inside. But she ends up cutting one hand loose, and she keeps going on about her daughter having red hair, really big red hair, bright red hair. She has red hair.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's she's apparently been missing. And then in between all of this, she says, "Find Madcap, find Madcap, find Madcap." And then there's a weird sound, and her eyes go wide.
Right.
And then there's this small pop that close in on her eyes, and you hear, pfft, and she's dead.
Yeah.
She's gone. Guard comes in. Of course, Jake deals with him. And then dressed as the guard, he starts sneaking through the town. He gets into this building, finds his daughter, and the doctor was going to take a power tool to her.
Right.
Was it a drill?
I wrote power tool because I wasn't sure what exactly.
I mean, it's huge. Yeah, we're not talking like a fucking DeWalt,
no, it's a large.
It's like construction.
Power tool.
It looked like a goddamn jackhammer.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is he going to do? What kind of medicine is this?
Right.
So Jake swoops in, grabs her up, and the doctor ends up just standing there.
Yeah, he just freezes.
Yeah, just like C-3PO on a power outage.
Yeah.
And then there's a chase out into the woods. Jake ends up crossing paths with this guy who's also running in the woods.
Right.
And this guy's really strange, and he says he's from a resistance camp, and we learn that he's Madcap.
Right.
Okay. He explains about the virus. The EMP cured the bacteria, but whoever did that also put software in their heads, and this can make people do whatever the mystery rulers or people behind it want them to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you mention Madcap's sonic screwdriver?
So, like every 15 seconds, he's got this thing, and it looks like number 10's screwdriver. No, 11. Matt Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the end pops out, it's this like, looks like a sonic screwdriver. Claw popped out, and he electrocutes himself.
Yeah.
With it.
Like frequently. And it seems like it hurts a lot.
Yeah. There's more to that. But anyway, that's how we're introduced to him. What the hell is this guy? First, we got a guy with a, fucking industrial power tool. And then we got this guy with a electric sonic screwdriver zapper electric current.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also says that Jake is the only one who can destroy the tower that controls people.
Because Jake does not have the virus.
Right.
Now we got virus.
Right.
Which meant the software.
Yes.
Yeah,
like
Jake,
a computer virus.
Yeah, Jake doesn't have this software installed in his head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then... Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, then they... we cut to the experimental place from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden we're not. We were there just long enough to see the woman who's the doctor doing the experiment at the beginning, starting to talk all science-y.
Yeah.
But we don't get to hear what she's really talking about.
No.
And they don't go out with it. And then we're at Madcap's. He lives in a cave, and he's built a bomb and a remote detonator.
Mm-hmm.
But he just can't get close enough to use it. And there's a lot of talking. And we finally learn the daughter's name is Molly.
Yeah, I just called her Bug throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, because he did
kept
too.
Calling her.
Yeah. And then that she's the last child on Earth. And then the EMP killed all of the children.
Right. So we also learn that his, I wrote his happy thing. I think I meant to say zappy thing. His sonic screwdriver, Madcap's sonic screwdriver, could wake her up because the daughter, she is like just a wet noodle.
Right.
Right. But it also might kill her.
Right. That old chestnut.
So then some goons come into the cave and Jake fights them. And I will say the fight choreography in this movie is like pretty good.
Let's just stop for a second.
Okay.
A bit of a spoiler, folks. It's going to get kind of hard and ugly on some aspects of things that go on.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, you can't criticize the technical aspects.
No,
and that
technically it's really well done.
That includes the choreography for the fight scenes, the handling of the background people. I mean, it was all done really well.
Yeah.
That being said, let's move on.
Yeah. So Jake fights the goons, and while he's fighting, Madcap takes Bug and just dips.
Yep, splits. In the midst of the melee, he's just gone. Jake's just out of the corner of his eye. He's like, oh, where's he fucking going?
Right.
But then he's got, 20 guys to contend with.
Right. Yeah, he's busy.
Yeah.
And then we're in the lab again. And what I wrote about this scene is not much interesting stuff here. So
I wrote down we're back to the lab long enough for Lab Lady to tell someone to install some blue glowy thing into the device and get another rat, and then she turns another blue glowy thing into a red glowy thing.
Yep.
That was the whole scene, and it lasted about that long.
Yeah. And then we see Jake, he's like watching the guards hobbling away from Madcap's cave. And then he's looking through Madcap's stuff. And this is the point at which I was like, I'm not going to take super detailed notes unless something interesting happens, because we're about halfway through the movie, right?
Yeah.
Or actually, we're about 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Yes, we are.
And both you and I at this point were like, this movie's really busy and really boring at the same time.
Yeah, well, save it to the end. Save it to the end. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But yeah, we're 3/4 through, folks. Already.
And I will say, our recap of this movie has been much more interesting to me than the movie itself. So we learned that the plan of the general, as he is called, who is played by Billy Zane.
Yep.
Who's still alive in this apocalyptic world.
Except bald.
Yeah. That's the only difference. He had rad 90s hair in the flashback. And now he's bald.
The first thing I thought of when I saw him,
yeah,
and I don't know how many people are going to catch this, but John Larroquette, he would have long hair. And see, yeah, you're giving me that blank look.
Yeah, I don't know who that
John Larroquette, he was huge in Night Court. Yeah,
nope, no idea.
God damn it. Anyway, folks, if you know who John Larroquette is, he would wear, short hair for parts and stuff. But when he would grow it long, it would look just like Billy Zane was wearing it, right? Just like to the shoulders, but that like parted in the middle and
wavy.
And when he moved, it didn't.
Yeah,
it was like
bananas.
He has that Billy Zane has that. Well, his hair is just like helmet hair.
Yeah,
I don't think that he even needs a hairdresser or a stylist on set. I think it's just
Well, I think Billy Zane usually nowadays goes bald anyway.
Well, that's true. He does.
Yeah.
So, but in the old days, he had that kind of hair, and clearly this was a wig. Yeah. But where it just wouldn't go. Like, step out in that hurricane. Clothes are blowing and shredding off the body, and that hair is just like, whatever, man. I got this.
So, yeah, his plan is to release an update to the virus that is going to let them see people's thoughts via a computer.
Yes.
So, Madcap has been captured and is being tortured in the Space Needle, right? The tower.
Yes.
Yeah.
In I think at the base.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the tower. He's being tortured.
Yeah.
By the scientist woman. And she's giving a pretty detailed overview of their plot to essentially enslave everyone's minds, I guess, which they've already done.
You mean Billy Zane?
No.
Or she goes into...
She goes into it while she's torturing Madcap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Billy Zane is just kind of like shown occasionally. He doesn't...
Well, because he goes into that whole thing too.
Yeah.
That timeshare sales pitch.
Yeah.
With her. It's like his only purpose for being on screen at that moment is to recap. We've solved everything. We've cured the world.
Right.
And then he's gone.
Meanwhile, Jake is dieharding through the tower.
Yes.
So that's the essence of it. So I had a thought here. Why do they need to torture Madcap if they can just see his thoughts on their computer? The torturing doesn't seem to be helping. Like, she asks him a question and then they see his thoughts on the computer and then she hits him.
Well, they started the torture first.
Yeah.
And then they shot him up with this new stuff.
Right.
So I think they wanted to get the momentum going in case it didn't work. Because this is all experimental.
Yeah.
Right. So if it didn't work and they couldn't see anything, they don't have to start fresh.
Yeah.
They've already got you. I don't know. I don't know the rules for torture.
So Jake ends up coming in and saving Madcap. And then he learns that if they push this update to the virus, that Molly will die.
Right.
So they set out to stop it.
Yes. Also, I just want to point out at one point after their escape, they're in another cave. Only this one doesn't look as cave-like as Madcap's home. Right? This one is actually somewhere. I don't know where, but it's a tourist attraction. And how can you tell? Because of the cement stairs that had been poured.
Oh, cool.
And all of the lighting fixtures as they're walking around like it's supposed to be too dark.
I thought it was like the tunnels under the tower.
No, they end up in that one part where you can see all the stalactites and stalagmites.
Oh.
Yeah, that's kind of they get down that far, and then it's that was one of my things. It's like, why the fuck would you go that deep only to have to go back up?
I will say locational flow in this film is not a strong point.
No, it's a bit of a mystery. So, all right. So, all right, he's got to save Molly. They're back in the building. Jake hears Molly scream, and then the doctor is zapping her.
Uh-huh.
Well, at least it's not a power tool.
At least it's not yeah.
So Jake rescues her. The doctor says something about a glitch in the software, and then he gets knocked out. They fight their way to the top of the tower. Believe me, it takes longer than that sentence for that to happen.
Yeah. We have very minimal notes.
Yeah.
From this point
so
on.
Lab Lady, of course, says, wait, and they knock her out. There's more fighting. They send Molly into a vent to turn something off, and the clock runs down. And then I have right here, by the way, this was over 5 minutes for a 90-second clock.
Yeah.
And then we find out Jake knows Lab Lady.
Yeah.
Now there is a violent storm happening only around the tower. This has nothing to do with the tower, what it does. This is just like,
it's just like a storm.
By the way, it's like, ooh, let's add a localized storm around the tower at this point. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
The tower blows up. Because whatever, I just put that because I'm really not clear exactly what the fuck they achieved in all of this.
I'm not really sure either. I do know at one point Jake uses one of the sonic screwdrivers on Molly and it wakes her up.
Right after the whole. Anyway, so the tower blows up and then everyone in the little town or base camp below it, right? That encampment, they're all standing frozen still.
Yeah.
And then this, I just wrote, it's a long escape sequence.
Yes.
It is really long. The tower blows up like 5 times during this sequence. And then we find out Lab Lady is Jake's wife, Molly's mother.
Yeah, and her name is Marion.
So somehow in all of this, there's also, we get a guard who's like this Uber guard. Because the rest of these guys look like standard sci-fi stuff. They got the helmets, the rounded helmets and stuff, and their get up. I mean, and it looked, here's the thing, it wasn't chintzy.
No, I mean, it was all right.
I mean, the vagabonds look like vagabonds. The people struggling look like they're struggling. But this, clearly, these were, I mean, it's like somebody.
It was some pretty legit costuming.
Yeah, just like you see the infantry units of the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Right? All these people follow a set pattern. Well, clearly they paid for a lot of these to be made.
Right.
So, where am I? Oh, anyway, so this Uber guard, though, has like force shields, these really powerful weapons. He looks like Risner from Tron Legacy, only instead of red light, it's blue light coming through him.
I have comments on this in my notes.
Oh, and then we also, just let me do this. Now we can do it. And then we also see a guard with a robot arm. Not this Risner guy, but a separate guard who has this fancy robot arm. Go ahead and, because at this point, they're still escaping.
Right.
Give me your notes.
Okay, here's my comment that I wrote. They're making their way through the building, and I'm kind of astounded that the guards have this weird laser gun technology, but also these same people at the same time have a difficult time creating a bomb detonation device.
Yes. So yeah, they're still escaping. And then we get a growling monster enters the scene. Here's the thing. Just like the cliff shot, you get like a quarter second of and some shadow thing comes in and starts wreaking havoc, and then you don't see anything.
Right.
So it's still a mystery. They find a hidden cache of weapons that are all super advanced.
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole big thing about he's preparing for war. Then a room of people standing frozen in the middle of loading said weapons.
Yes.
So there's actually 2 rooms of weapons.
Yeah.
Ones that are just sitting there, and then a whole room full of weapons that are being loaded.
Yeah, except the people are all frozen.
Right. And they have that thing going on in their eyes.
Yeah.
That like circle thing lets you know that they're not just there.
Yeah, and then they interrupt their own daring escape from this tower.
Through all this, somebody just says, "Whoops, they got me doing it."
I haven't done it.
Unprovoked, someone says, "There's a loop in the software. They're stuck in a loop. That's why they're frozen."
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's like over-explained and at the same time massively under-explained. And Marion made the virus. Like, there's a lot of information to take in, but it's way too much. So, yeah, in the middle of escaping, they decide out of the blue that they need to interrupt their own escape to go free a resistance camp for some reason.
Yes. So this is where they disembark the area.
Yeah.
In a DeLorean.
Yeah, they flee in a DeLorean, claiming they need cover from the vehicles chasing them, and then they drive into like
the wastelands.
A wasteland. Yeah.
Perfect. I need to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are all about the DeLorean.
Yeah.
Okay. But not for a fucking second would anybody, and I'm not like a car guy, right? I don't really know much about cars. I know there are certain cars that I like from certain years. You know, that looks cool. And you remember something. I mean, they're iconic. Almost everyone knows 57 Chevy.
Yeah.
Right. And some of the Mustangs and the fastbacks and stuff. I don't know all the technical details and stuff. That's like saying, I like horses. I don't know anything about horses, but I can tell a horse from a cow. That kind of thing. Now, with that limited knowledge, I know for a fact that fucking DeLorean, no way, shape, or form could have made that escape through the wastelands.
Oh, no.
They show it a couple times on a dirt road. Fine. And then they show it, and you can tell they sped the film up because there's no way you can get a DeLorean off-roading, even in a mild sense, faster than 1.5 miles.
They're not racing cars, DeLoreans.
Well, yeah, they could be racing cars. That's just it. They're not off-road cars.
Right.
Yeah. So you see this thing, and I think this right here is my only technical bitch about how it was shot, because it looked really hokey. I don't care what you do. You can't film something and then speed up the film.
Right.
You can't film a DeLorean trying to creep over bumps and ridges and then speed it up to make it look like it's going 80 cross country without it looking like Benny Hill.
Yeah. Okay.
So I had to get that off my chest because I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah. And then like magically there are just a buttload of cars following him. And you and I both in this moment were extremely disappointed because these are the same shots as in the trailer with the army of DeLoreans, but they were not DeLoreans. And we were both like, what?
Yeah, they were all like secondhand Mad Max vehicles.
We were like, where? What? Have we been cheated?
Shysters.
And they take out all the cars following them, and then there it is. The army of DeLoreans show up, also magically out of nowhere. So they make it to the resistance camp and see that everyone there is frozen in place also, except for Claire, who was the woman that he saw through his binoculars earlier and who is mentioned like briefly on and off throughout the film, but not enough to the point where I bothered taking any notes about her.
She was a spy.
Right. Yeah, she was Madcap's lady love or something.
Yeah.
So Jake runs to the armory, which is empty because they're coming for us. And then Claire gets shot protecting Bug. Yeah. And Madcap has, I'm not joking, 5.5, 6 minute long scene where he's just crying over her body.
Yes.
My God. It goes on for so long.
Yeah.
And then the general shows up.
Yes.
And Jake is very confused about the general, who he calls Master Crane. And I was like, Jake, my dude, I feel ya.
I just kept calling him Billy Zane.
That's fine. But his confusion is the first point in this movie with which I am able to identify with the character.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm confused too.
Yeah.
Do you have?
I'll wrap it up. So with there's a couple things. So at one point, Madcap starts shouting, "They're slaughtering them," and I wrote down, "But who and where?"
Right, because
we're not privy to any of this, and I don't even know where the fuck you are at this point. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ! Now do we have telepathy working?
Listen, there is briefly a shot where they show, I think he means the resistance camp people, and they show a shot that I think is supposed to show the slaughter.
That comes after.
And the like right quarter of the screen has like 6 maybe scattered body parts that look bloody, and then the rest of it is just the people frozen in place, but they're fine.
Right. Well, that's when they come up there, that's the scene. And anyway, so there's this whole thing. And when Billy Zane shows up, he shouts, "Enough."
Right.
And that like stops everybody. So Billy Zane and Jake meet up, and we get the whole "I thought you were dead" back and forth. And Madcap is like, "You know him too?"
Right.
You seem to know all the fucking terrible people involved in this scheme. Yeah. And then Billy does the whole peace thing speech that we heard a sample of.
Yeah, we
earlier.
Get them bickering about which one of them is more altruistic.
And then he's just like jumps in. It's funny. It's like watching Gandhi turned into like Himmel. He's talking about peace, and then he's just like, fucking destroy them all, roll over them, and grind their flesh and brains into the fucking earth. And we're like, what is the deal? And then he reveals, he's like, because apparently when you're in charge, you should be prepared for every situation.
Yes.
That usually means carrying a backpack, a briefcase, having people carrying your shit and all kinds of stuff. Well, he's got a couple guys who've been hauling something around in a fucking tarp, apparently just for this moment.
Yeah, just so he could show.
Yeah, because he's like, bring it in. They had to have been trained for those words.
So anyway, they just had a high-speed chase to get here.
They bring in this blue tarp and dump out what is some kind of mutated human. It's a really monstrous looking thing. And he says it's from the north, mutated by the bacteria and radiation.
Right.
And a horde of them are coming this way. So this is the creature that we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
That we've only heard. Right.
It is pretty rad looking.
It did look pretty cool. Yeah. Props. Whoever sculpted that and cast it, it's pretty fucking wild. I would have really rather watched half hour, 40 minutes of those.
Oh my God.
Involved in the movie.
Do you remember how I told you this morning about the spider dream I had?
Yeah.
The weird spider I told you about?
Yeah.
Vaguely kind of looked like that thing.
That is true.
But a spider.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. You wanted more of it too.
I got it. Yeah. I wanted to see it move, but that might have been out of the budget range.
Yeah. So this is the reason for the weapons, Billy says. Madcap says people would fight for him if given a choice instead of trying to mind control him. Billy says he's full of shit. And then Billy gives him a kick and sends him like 50 yards.
I know.
There's literally 3 shots of him flying through the air. And it reminded me of when we were telling Lily about the Hot Wheels commercials, how they shoot him. Those Hot Wheels only go like 4 feet, but they do like 8 shots. Makes it look like it's going like 300 feet. And as every one of us who ever had a Hot Wheel knows, we were had.
4 feet was like...
That's if you had the ramp and the track. Yeah, if you give it a push.
That's mad air for a Hot Wheel.
Yeah, it goes a couple inches and then you're done. So then he controls Madcap and then makes him fight Jake. Billy has his men aim at Jake's wife. Jake yells no, and nothing happens. So Billy was testing to see if Jake could control him, meaning Billy. Because when Jake yells no, apparently, if you're like this big alpha dick, you can just like control everybody with the software, even if you don't have it.
Right. Well, they have like a special kind of it, but he says Jake can control everybody.
Yeah, but can't control Billy.
I don't know.
And then all of a sudden, Jake, he says Jake is the tower. And I just wrote, and like 1,000 question marks. Then he commands all the guards to run away. Jake does. There's talk about free will, and Jake does something, and then he and Molly make some light bubble, and everyone around them everywhere is unfrozen.
Well, he uses the orange stuff that Marion made.
Oh, the red stuff?
Yeah.
Reddish orange stuff.
And then the general took it from her. Like, this was a whole thing. Just a lot going on.
Yeah. And then we see everyone, with Billy included, waiting as they say this giant horde is coming.
Yeah.
And they're going to fight it.
Yeah. The great thing is there's like 20 of them. And then you look at the horde and it's like the whole landscape is blackened with the creatures.
Yes. Imagine, if you will, Genghis Khan's army. If it could have been filmed coming over the hill, that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
And then we fade out. That is Blue World Order.
Let's start.
Let's talk about this movie.
Let's start with the good.
Okay.
I know you have a lot of stuff you want to talk about. The good.
Yeah, maybe we can like mix it. I don't know. Let's see where it goes.
Okay. Technically, pretty well done.
I mean, decent camera work.
Yeah.
All the way through.
Yeah. Acting was all right.
Yeah. You never, when you watch this, the people running the cameras, the director, the AD, DP, all these people were professional. They knew what they were doing, because the shots are correct. Nobody tried anything fancy. We didn't get like in, some films, we got a shot of someone's ass while they're talking. It's like,
it's like, sci-fi channel made for TV level film.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But it's one of those by the book.
Yeah.
We're not here to fuck around and reinvent cinema. We're here to just, straight film a story.
Yeah.
And by the shot for sci-fi, that's usually Asylum.
Usually, yeah.
Sometimes sci-fi studios, will make something, but a lot of the action scenes were, they had a very specific flavor to them.
Yes.
The quick cuts and the different things. It was, folks, you'll recognize it.
Yeah. I mean, I will say the fight scenes were well choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And just all the interactions.
Right.
But the full on drawn out fight scenes were well choreographed. And I mean, when he's doing, like you call it, the John McClane thing, die-harding through the tower.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is super quick.
Yes.
I do want to point out one thing.
Okay.
So there's a scene where he's like lures a guard around a corner, because him and Madcap's carrying Molly.
Mm-hmm.
This was missed. He disappears around the corner. The guard goes around the corner, but you can see from around the corner the shadows on the wall. And you see him standing with Madcap. You see the guard go in and then fly backwards. Nobody moved.
Yeah.
He just flies backwards, and then you see Jake's shadow move, and then he comes out.
Yeah.
I saw for an otherwise spotless performance, that just stuck out.
Yeah.
But hey, sometimes those things happen.
They do.
Well, and when you notice it afterwards.
Yeah, when you've put it to print, I mean, you can't really do anything.
Well, even in the editing, you can't call everyone in. Okay, let's redo this whole thing. Right. It's only going to cost us $40,000 to shoot this again. Doesn't work that way. The, yeah, everything else was really cool.
The costuming was cool. The effects were all right. Like I said, made for TV level kind of.
Right.
Right.
But I'd say even a little bit better.
Sure.
Because I think back to like when they did the TV series for Planet of the Apes and for Logan's Run, they always have the poor people, the peasants, the regular grunts walking around in slovenly clothes. They actually looked very Hollywood slovenly in those shows.
Yeah.
Right. And folks, you can think of 1,000 things from the 70s up through today where you look at it and you're like, that so looks like it came off, out of the costume department's trailer. Right. These actually look good. And what I liked was they kept it minimalist. They gave them exactly what they needed to sell each individual person. Nothing was like all this extraneous shit attached to them or, kind of thing. So, I mean, it was a very comfortable watch in this world building that everyone looked like, oh, I get it.
Right.
That's about how it would go.
Yes. Now.
Yeah.
This movie was so untenably boring.
As to gauge this, it was just like 2 tiny notches above This World Won't Break,
which we covered in a previous episode,
which we only watched 30 minutes of because it was so boring.
Yeah. And then we ended up talking about a bunch of other movies.
Yeah. Who did a way better job of,
slow
burns. But I will say we did break this up over 2 days.
Yeah.
Because we paused it for a break and we were like, we've got a fucking hour, almost an hour and a half left.
How is this movie not nearly over?
Oh my God.
It was a 2.5 hour slog, this movie.
Here's the funny thing, and this is where it gets difficult. So much is going on.
Yes.
And that's another thing we're going to talk about. There's so many different avenues of things going on, but it's so boring at the same time.
Yeah, and we did talk a lot about why that is, and we came to a couple of conclusions.
Yes.
So, what I think, and I think you agree with me, what I think the biggest issue this movie had was that it was too by the book. It was very predictable. They tried to smush too much in.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it so that all of the emotional moments and funny moments and stuff all fell extremely flat.
Yeah.
There were moments that were supposed to be funny, but neither of us were laughing. And there were moments that were supposed to be emotional, and we were like, okay.
It's, so what they did is they took us as the audience and just gave us so much drawn out, flat line.
Yeah.
And then they try to introduce something, but they haven't really done anything to invest us in any of these characters.
Right.
Because Jake, I mean, we get it. He's a dad, but and his daughter's sick.
Cookie cutter, reluctant hero.
Yeah. And that's fine. That shit worked on Star Wars. That's what that whole thing was built on. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't very cookie cutter though. This movie, Blue World Order, we have seen the same movie 60 times, but with different titles.
Right.
Right.
But it's a trope.
Yeah.
And the trope works if you do it right. But what we didn't have was enough time with him on one particular thing to invest in him.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just so much.
So much. Right away, he's like, you're going to blow up the tower.
Right.
And he's being told you got to do this. But that happens so far in the first part. It's just too much. The real problem with this, there's the A story, which we're not clear on. was a B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, and N story. If you think I'm exaggerating, folks, give it a watch. Every fucking time you're trying to like soak into something, there's something else they got to do.
Now, see, this is where I disagree with you in that I don't believe the person who wrote this thought that those were separate storylines. I mean, I agree with you that they are. I don't think the person who wrote this believed that in their heart. I think they believed that all of them were intensely integral to the story itself, which is simply not true. There was no killing of any darlings in the writing of this.
I guess we're going to disagree on that.
Sure.
Because, I mean, side stories are usually integral to the main story. They close up an element that was introduced. But here's the problem. Nothing was introduced. Because first he's got a sick daughter. And then there's all this talk of this resistance camp, which its only fucking role was to be frozen people.
Yeah.
Where a fight takes place.
Mm-hmm. They
literally, even when unfrozen, have nothing to do at all. Because they only unfreeze them at the last instant, and then we cut to everyone standing on a cliff waiting to get mowed down by these mutant humans.
Yeah.
Right? So what the hell was that? The whole let's detonate this thing. Well, that was fucked up way in the beginning. And then we have the brain reading thing. That never went anywhere.
Right.
That was not used in any kind of thing. Billy Zane didn't do anything with that. The kids dying.
Yeah.
Never learned why. Why is she going to die?
Well, it was
what happened before? Let's go back. What was that white fucking light that caught her in midair?
Well, it was supposed to have been the pulse that they sent out. That was the original version of the virus that killed all of the bacteria. But that pulse accidentally killed all of the kids also, except for her.
Yeah. And they never explain how this one tower can cover a whole hemisphere.
Right.
Their walkie-talkies can't go like 40 feet.
Well, it's because the tower has 600 little satellite dishes on it.
Maybe. Yeah, but the tower also seems to have a problem with localized, terrible, like tornado level storms, like Twister.
Right.
It's weird. You don't get enough time with any one of these things to track where the fuck anything is going.
Right.
Anything. And I think all these little things, like there's so much talk about the resistance in the camp and they're going to help. Well, they didn't do fuck all.
Right.
They look like they were just farming, That's how we're going to protest. We're not going to live in their camp. We're just going to live over here and farm.
Well, the one thing this movie didn't do at all was there were no scenes at all throughout the entirety of this movie where they just let the characters kind of breathe. You know what I mean?
Right. Which gives us a chance to breathe.
Right.
And soak in all the information and stuff that we've got so we can catch up.
And those are great scenes for strong emotional moments.
Yes.
Right.
We didn't get that.
Nope, not a one.
Because they're always on the move, and that's kind of the thing. And it reminds me, I told you it reminded me of This World Won't Break when we did the episode, and you went on about, everybody has problems and we don't need to fucking watch them in real time on the screen. That's what a lot of this was. There was so much that whole long fucking walk to the resistance camp with Madcap.
Right.
He's going on about shit that has nothing to do with anything. And it goes on for so long. That whole thing could have been cut and you'd have never known because you knew they were going to the resistance camp.
Yeah.
Bam. Say it. And then bam. They show up when they're being slaughtered somehow.
Well, the big thing about that, here's the thing. That would have been a great scene to let them breathe. Right?
Yeah.
But instead, we have Madcap droning on and on, not about nothing. He's dumping lore that we don't need. Just constantly.
Exactly. And there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just random conversation.
Mm-hmm.
This movie could have easily been shortened by 40 minutes.
I think it could have easily been shortened by 2.5 hours.
I mean, if they'd had kept it to a single, okay, his daughter's sick. He finds out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I couldn't follow the acts. Every time I thought we're in a second act, another second act starts. And none, out of all of these story bits and pieces, not one of them was the motivator to move us into the third act.
No.
Right? Because the whole thing is blow up the tower, save everybody, blow up the tower, save everybody. They fucking do that. And it's like, oh my God, there's so much movie left.
Yeah.
What now? And then it's just random stuff. They could have stuck with the tower should have been the climax.
I think so.
This whole prepping for war for mutants, that's a different movie.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with
it is
anything.
Like they tried to squeeze in 8 different movies into this one movie.
Right.
And we talked about how this could have been done pretty well as a mini series.
Yeah, like a limited series like on Netflix. You know, they do like 8 to 12 episodes. I think we were talking about like this could have been 10 episodes of this journey with all these people because Lord knows there was enough people.
Oh my God.
You know, and that's what I like about those miniseries and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, is you get so many different characters and you get to follow them little bits at a time throughout this long stretch.
Yeah.
Where you can see their arcs, you can just feel the character. You know?
You get a full rounded world.
Yes.
That is a full-bodied cup of coffee and not, you know, the rush grounds from yesterday.
Right.
Oh shit, I ran out of coffee. Let's just try this out.
Just grab that filter and squeeze what little moisture there is out of it into your mouth. You know.
That's what happened here.
It is. Well, and it's also like burying the lead.
Yeah.
Right? They buried the plot. Because it was proven to us that while nobody wants mind control and stuff, if Billy Zane was truly this magnanimous type, you know, character, like I'm doing this, you know, you're welcome people kind of thing.
Yeah.
If they hadn't destroyed the tower would have actually done the job of fighting this mutant army. But see, the mutant army shit doesn't come in until literally the last, between 10 and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. So,
that would have been a great Deus Ex Machina at the end where they use the tower to like do the virus targeting the mutants and
see?
Yeah.
So blowing up the tower there's where we have it. So is this about mind control? Is this about some guy being dictatorial? You know, that whole post-apocalyptic thing, one person. And we talked about this too. Why do the martial arts instructors always end up the fucking bad guys?
You know,
every
in movies,
fucking time you see one.
But if you've ever met a martial arts instructor in real life, they're like the chillest fucking people. It's so nice.
I just, yeah. and I've met many of them. You know, Eric Schumacher.
Oh, yeah.
Has taken it to,
that's true.
And his master is just this really insightful, great guy. I find it hard that when an apocalypse hits, people diametrically change who they are and what they are. It's like, you know, oh, he's just a fucking evil world ruler just waiting for the moment.
Yeah.
No, the guy works for like 10 charities. He trains all these people for free. He holds classes, you know, he does these youth programs and stuff. I don't think that's the kind of guy who's going to be fucking killing people like he's changing underwear.
Right. And trying to like mind control an entire population.
Well, and here's another little thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a really overused trope.
How does a guy who runs a taekwondo studio become the ruler of this technology?
I think it was the hair.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Might have been.
You just have to follow a guy with hair like that.
Yeah, but
hair like that?
We don't know if he had hair like that when he started. Maybe when he shaved it. So that's a whole Samson thing. That was his goodness. Instead of his strength, he shaved off his goodness.
He was shorn of his goodness.
I love it. So it's hard to say what the plot of this movie is. You know, they blow up this tower, which is supposed to free everybody, but ends up fucking freezing them.
Right.
Right. And then Jake is supposed to be the Neo.
Yes.
Right. He doesn't even need the thing. He can just like telepathically jump into the fucking Matrix. He doesn't need to be hardwired.
And it's because they made the virus based on his DNA because he overcame a disease, which is like, I shouldn't even have to say this. You know what I mean? Yeah. I shouldn't need to explain this. It's something that shouldn't need an explanation.
No. And I don't know. It's a lot of things ring through my mind. Number one, we just watched the whole series of Dollhouse again.
Oh yeah.
Right. Love the series. Love the whole idea.
Up until halfway through season 2, when it goes wildly off the rails, trying to wrap up 5 seasons of show into 6 episodes.
Well, that's what happens when Joss Whedon actually gets word that he's being canceled. He's like, right. Oh, I'll show you.
I'll do the whole show.
I'm finishing this fucker.
Yeah.
All 10 planned seasons.
Yeah.
In 3 weeks.
It's wild. It's a great series, though. I don't mean to talk bad about it. I really like it.
But the whole thing, of erasing a mind and imprinting it and stuff. And then the whole concept later on that they got into, the moral implications of not needing to put someone in a chair. They can just point a little ray gun at them and wipe people. So I'm thinking, okay, so there's that kind of maybe influence in this. Because this whole thing is putting software in people's heads through an EMP.
Right.
Which is an electromagnetic pulse.
Which doesn't actually do anything to the brain.
We will get into it because you know what? As we understand things now, this is impossible.
Can I just say one thing?
Please do.
In my notes, when they explained that whole situation, I wrote in my notes, they somehow cured the bacteria with electricity?
Yeah.
Okay. That was my notes.
Yeah. So anyway, well, I mean, that's science fiction.
It's fine. Yeah. Right? That's suspension of disbelief. Sure. If that's the way this world works. Okay.
Okay. But if that's the way this world works, stick with it.
Yeah.
Okay. When you got like jars full of gel that you're going to stick in a machine and transmit it. See what I mean?
Right.
It just kind of throws it. But then none of it matters because without the tower, nobody can function.
Yeah.
And they didn't see that coming?
No, I guess not.
Right? And then the little puffball thing that Jake and Molly did.
Yeah.
That
when he zapped her with the magic gun that had the red stuff in it.
Right.
And he was holding her. I don't know.
I don't know what happened. None of that was introduced to us. That is like watching like Psycho.
But here's the problem.
And
it was, though. It was just buried in all of the other shit that this movie tried to cover. Like they did explain it, but it was buried in everything else.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. Their bodies are broadcasting the cure that Marion made to release everyone from the virus.
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either, but that was the explanation we were given.
Okay. Anyway, to me, it's like watching Psycho. And in the middle of it, just before the shower scene, right? A guy walks in, throws a melon up against the wall, and then takes a hammer to the rinds on the floor and then just runs out before Norman walks in and does his thing.
Right.
Why? What the fuck?
And then we never revisited.
And that was supposed to have, supposed to have made Norman go nuts. What was it for? I don't know. Why did they go? Because it doesn't work that way. You can have software in the brain. I can get that.
Yeah.
What I can't get is, the big pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we're not here to discuss that.
Right. I don't want to make it sound like we're crapping on the, sci-fi-ness of this movie. It's really more about the story and the over-explanations of everything.
Which is a good lesson. See, folks, if you come up with some, half-baked sci-fi thing, which is what sci-fi is, just make shit up, right? Build the world to justify it. You don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to get a whiteboard and do it. And that's the formula. That's how it works. Suspension of disbelief. Give me something I can hold on to with reality and then have everything stem from that. And I'm like, okay, I can follow the tethers. To all the balloons and everything. And that's fine. I got a bouquet of balloons grounded here, and they're all just like, woo, this is what makes me love sci-fi.
Like the house and Up.
Yeah. But when you do that and the rest of your story is so slow and doesn't give the groundings, it just drones on in 1,000 different directions. This is the first thing people are going to land on.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I said, Star Wars has so many simple little things that made it a movie, meaning little plot points. They weren't original. It was Lady in Distress. It was an old Western style rescue. You had the reluctant hero. You have the hardened, just for myself. And he comes around, Han Solo. And you can pick that shit apart day and night. But when you watch it, the pacing of it is just stuff's happening, and it's following that main thread.
Well, it's got the magic, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It keeps you engaged.
And this movie did not, that's a phrase, the movie magic, right? A movie is supposed to transport you to another world.
Right.
Even if that world is this world, right? It's another world where the people in the movie exist and you care about them.
Right.
And you feel for them and you understand their plight and you identify with them and yada, yada, yada. This movie didn't have any of that. It didn't have any magic.
No, it went on and on in a lot of different directions and no build-ups. Things just like that whole blow up the fucking tower thing.
Man, you're really stuck on that tower, huh?
Because that was supposed to be, that's what we were introduced to. In the first act, you introduce the niblet,
right?
The nodule of where this movie's going.
Yeah.
So they gave us the tower and why and all this, and Madcap had this big thing, invested all this time and everything, and pulled this off, and they're ready to go. And that literally fell apart in like 15 seconds.
It sure did.
And then we're left with,
yeah, and then we're like, okay.
And then it feels, like I said, like they're like, okay, action. All right, somebody think something up and we'll run with it. It was not good. I want to address this other little issue.
Okay.
About characters and character relationships.
Yeah.
Please, everybody, fucking stop introducing the wife, good close friend, everything. Oh my shit! And God, we're so sick of that. You watch a movie 3/4 of the way through, and all of a sudden, oh, well, that's my wife. Fuck, come on, do we need to?
Right?
All right, let's do this. And writers, especially, if you're fans of Star Wars, and the last 3 movies just sucked ass, that's the problem. All of a sudden, everybody's fucking related.
Yeah.
That's the downfall. Buffy fell into that when there's, fucking others and cousins and stuff. It'll come to me. Anyway, most TV shows and movies fall apart when everybody's suddenly related. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like, think about it. Walking Dead, right? You get to like season 4 and all of a sudden fucking Daryl is, Rick's fucking half brother from, right?
Right.
And then, Shane was his uncle.
Yeah.
You find out.
It just becomes bonkers.
I think that is the laziest and poorest way to introduce tension between characters. By, it's my long lost wife and she's evil. But then,
that's daytime soap opera shit,
which is just the worst kind of shit. Just be more original, right? And I get at the beginning you got 2 guys, right? Because I was Walking Dead also. Right? I mean, it was obviously it was a graphic novel first, but the plot of you have Rick and you have this deputy, his friend Shane, and they're together, and then Rick gets shot, and this thing happened in the background. He wakes up, he's all alone, and it takes a while. He finds his way back. Boom. Right? I get that. And Shane's a bit of a dick, and he's making moves. I get that too. Right?
Sure.
That's fine. But here's the thing. They had a lot of episodes to work that through.
Yeah, they did.
Right?
They didn't cram all of that into one thing.
Yeah. And it's not like he showed up and Shane was sitting on a throne, killing people.
Right.
Doing evil shit. And then he's like, "Oh, Rick, you're back. I'm good now." Right.
It's not like because it's not like he walked in and Shane was like mounting Lori and was like, "Oh, my bad."
Yep.
We're cool, right?
We're cool. and that's really just it. When Jake shows up, sees his wife, everyone fucking hates her.
Yeah.
Madcap just got tortured by her. And then we get that, well, this is one of those situations where, we have to work with our enemies because we have a common enemy now.
Yeah.
And here's my favorite line. We went on about this. We talked for like a half an hour about things related to this.
Oh, yeah.
When the wife, they do give her like a little bit of a bitch out. Well, at least Madcap does.
Yeah.
And then the wife goes, "I was doing this to save my daughter."
She only knew that her daughter existed 2 minutes before she said that line.
Well, let's analyze this. So, if that was her motivation and she knew somehow that her daughter was out there alive.
After all the children died.
Well, why would she make something up to kill the children?
Well, she said she didn't mean to kill the children. That just happened.
Yeah, I know. But you would think it'd be a little more involved, right?
Oopsie.
But that's the other thing. She just totally disregarded that as, oh, well, I dribbled a little pee in my pants. That's no big deal. Just
it's a blip.
Yeah, let's just wash and move on. I killed all the kids on planet Earth. But don't hold that against me. It was an accident. It was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. Therefore, everything is okay. And any emotional investment you have in that terrible event has been invalidated.
Yeah.
Ugh. So there's two things. Don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
Don't do that stuff with characters. The music scoring was appropriate. Okay. It was appropriate. It fit the feel.
Yeah.
I will say, seeing that wave of DeLoreans with all their doors open, because the people driving and their passengers are leaning out shooting guns. And folks, if you know what a DeLorean is, there's no window to do that. They have that little...
They have the little mini
window. Yeah. So the things are up, and that's what I was like, oh, I love this.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And the writing was just terrible. The concept, if they had stuck to the tower and freeing the people, all right, simple story plot. I could have taken everything they did in this movie to that end, would have worked, and they would have needed to add a little bit more.
Yeah.
In that area. This would have been, a great little watch.
Yeah.
Because the actors did well.
They did. And I wanted to like this movie so bad.
Well, yeah. Billy Zane. We're like, oh, let's get in this.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And then, I mentioned the Risner guy, right? The robot, the super guard.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Looks like the guy from Tron. His presence was like a money dump. It's like, oh, you know what? We can take a couple of these guys. Because in the end, there's like 4 in those outfits.
Yeah.
And they have the faceplate that's down. But on the faceplate is all this, techie shit going on.
Right.
Like you're seeing the inside of their screen or something. It's really weird. And I couldn't help but think, man, that was it. It looked impressive, but what a waste of money, because you didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah, they didn't play with it a whole lot, did they?
No, I thought that maybe this was going to be one of those Jake against this guy, kind of like Tron.
Yeah, it's going to be a diehard showdown, right?
Yeah, and then You know, just after Jake just about fucking dies and then suddenly kicks this guy's ass, he's got to deal with Billy.
Right.
Right. So now we have the hero who's just way down. This is like the ultimate underdog thing.
Yeah.
Right. He's just, oh shit, he's like a minute and a half from death. Now he's going to take care of the, you know, fucking Baldy here. How's this going to go? You know? Yeah. A lot of things should have been done differently and shorter.
Yeah.
You know, I guess that's the other thing. Watch your pacing. If you're doing something in real time, shouldn't last more than a minute.
Yeah.
You know, and like assembling things shouldn't even be a minute. We don't need to see someone for 60 seconds or more, you know, piecing together this little doohickey.
Yeah, we don't need it in real time.
No, I would rather have 60 seconds of a montage, him working on it, you know, and then at this stage and then at this angle and maybe cut something else in.
Well,
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same reason like when they show hackers in movies, right?
Yeah.
That they just go click, 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 boom, I'm in. When really, like,
yeah,
it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, every real.
If you showed it in real time, it would take 6 hours. Right?
Hours, days, weeks.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, let's watch a movie in real time about this guy social engineering his way.
Right.
Into the HR database. It's going to take 4.5 months. Action.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Yeah, I really wanted to like this, and I was hoping to do it. But here's the thing. I guess this was the first warning sign. Because at first when we found this, I said, I've watched this. Or I thought we watched it.
But I didn't.
But you didn't. So I thought, well, this must have been when I watched while in bed. And then we watched the trailer and I'm like, no, I don't. No, those are different things. There's a movie out there very similar to this.
Yeah.
And I will find it. That was just bad. Bad.
Yeah.
So that's why I went into this thinking, oh, well, I saw the turd version.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this one. And it ran up to that high jump, hit the air, and every time it just fell a foot short. It just never made it over the bar for any point in the story. You know?
Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
But Billy Zane is Billy Zane.
I love Billy Zane.
Yep.
He's always Billy Zane, though. I never see the character that he plays, unfortunately. I just see Billy Zane. I feel like, no, in my world, there's a multiverse in which Billy Zane is many different people. Right? He's all the characters that he plays in these movies.
I get it.
Right?
I get it.
But he's always Billy Zane.
Yeah. So, worth a watch to understand how you can have so much going on paper.
Yeah.
And how poorly that translates to the screen.
I mean, like, I would recommend watch this and then think about what you would cut out to make it better.
Well, what movie would you make out of it?
Right.
You have at least 4 solid points that you can choose, right? From beginning to end without including any of the other 3.
Yeah.
I think that would be an awesome exercise to do. Also, good example of, kill your babies.
Yeah.
Kill your darlings. Take the pens to that paper. And as much as it hurts, economy of words.
Yeah.
If you write a 3.5 hour movie, take the pen to it. I'm not going to tell you, whittle it down to 90 minutes.
No.
Right. But whatever length you have, tell the story that you meant to tell and stick to it. This was almost like a weird anthology with no cuts.
Kinda.
Because it just kept, now we're doing this. Who the fuck is this guy?
Who's this now?
Oh, him again.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he was, nope, now, okay.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
With that.
We are still undecided on how we truly feel. It's not a good movie. It's not the worst movie.
No.
It has a lot of things it shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And it kept it from being really cool.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know where you should go?
Where should I go?
To our website.
Would that be at www.lordsofmisrollproductions.com?
My God.
I know.
You're right.
The name of that website is almost as long as the thin, incomplete plot lines of this film.
It's true. It is a very long URL.
It is. But you know, I feel like people get too lazy with typing. I wasn't going to LOMP this. www.lomp.com.
Yeah.
No, type it out. Jesus.
That's just our link tree.
Yeah. On the website, everything's there.
Yeah, we got blog, other stuff we do, merch, emails, social media links, blah, 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 blah,
Patreon
blah.
link.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, links to everywhere that we're on. And all of our episodes are on there too. You know, click on one of those to your platform and subscribe. Yes. Rate, please. Review. Share.
Yeah, tell your friends about it.
Same thing with BF McGillicuddy. This is turning into a all sales shop because we're going to be saying to do this for the other podcast too when it starts happening. Because, you know, this is Lords of Misroll Productions. I mean, these are all things that we're doing. This is just the most outward right now. And
we got a lot cooking, and we do all this for no income at all. We don't do ads or anything. So, like, Patreon, if you really like us, it would really be helpful.
It really would.
If we had some more patrons.
It really would.
If you like us, you could help us for a low, you know, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Anything helps.
This production company is nothing but a money suck.
That's true.
It's fine. We love what we're doing. Well, it's not fine. It is what it is, but we're not going to stop doing it. But yeah, you know, sign up to be a patron. Do a one-time donation. You know, that will work too.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, check out our social media, all of our accounts, all of the people, all of the stuff. Find your tribe. Right?
Yeah. Go out and make something.
Yeah, go out and make something. There's so many things everyone can do. You know, we're doing some stuff and still trying to finish stuff we did a while ago.
Yep.
But, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. As long as you do something and you're working on it, you can take solace knowing I created a thing.
Yeah.
I got to, you know, beat it into shape and sculpt it and stuff. But you're working on your thing.
Yeah.
So, you know. All right.
Until next week. What's wrong?
Nothing. I just watched this movie because, you know, Billy Zane.
It's got Billy Zane and an army of DeLoreans. So
yes. And while you're doing that, keep yourself busy, and then we will talk to you on the next episode.
We sure will. All right. Bye.
Bye.